We might actually get you a little bit later today, if you have some time, actually go and put some of those words of wisdom that you put in. And we've got someone asked about the book. Joe asked about the book, and Amy filled in that details there. Amy's actually got a really good question here, and she's been celebrating 1 or 2 weeks of hard work by getting the coffee, so that's great for her. But her question was, how do you adapt all this to a struggling teenager doing year 11?
So I've got a struggling teenager doing year 11. So I've got 2 children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and I've got a 14-year-old girl. And it's not easy, Amy. It isn't easy. And, and the difficult thing is that for me, again, I go back to what is it that you want. As a 16-year-old, you got no clue. I didn't work out what I wanted to do.
I still don't know, Tony.
Yeah,
I
no,
still don't know.
Well,
I think I'm doing, you know what? I'm doing what I love, right? But I can't work out what I really want.
Yeah,
like,
and I got a little bit closer. I got a little bit closer when I was 42, right? I'm 46 now, and I'm like you, mate. It's still, my journey's evolving, and I'm open to it evolving, right? But I would suggest, Amy, that you at least sit down with your child and, perhaps think about that Ikigai process. Maybe you don't present it in that way, but you might just start with the 2 columns being, what is it that you love doing, and what are you good at? If you just start with those 2 columns and get them to, and maybe instead of them writing, perhaps have a conversation, because I know with teenagers, again, I said communication earlier, it's a great way to try and, teenagers are quite reserved and they much rather be on their, well, mine are anyway, want to be on their own. So you want to try and flesh it out of them. But what do you like doing? And what is it that you think you're good at? And here's the thing, right? So, and again, let's talk about Gary Vee. Kids nowadays, there's so many options that children have ahead of them. I follow a guy on Instagram. He's 17 now. He was 16. I think he presented recently on stage with Tony Robbins, and he's gone and created $1 million business through drop shipping. And he's an incredible kid. He won't go to uni. He doesn't need to go to uni, right? And so my point to that is, now that's at the absolute top end of the spectrum, but there are so many ways that kids can create money, do what they love. They don't have to go to university, and these are the conversations that we're having in our house at the moment. It's like, mate, mate being my son, mate, what is it that you want to do? Now, it's not easy, and again, teenagers being teenagers, so we don't have all the answers yet, Amy, but that's some of the things that we've gone and done, is starting to get him to actually write out what does he like doing, or what is he good at doing, and what does he love.
Well, I guess it's not
great question.
I guess it's not teached at schools, and I think there's an expectation through their peers or through their teachers or through the school itself, or the way the education system's set up to actually, make people to focus on, what it is, what do you want to do in life? It's a common question, as kids, what do you want to be in life? Who cares?
And as we both acknowledge, like, here we are in our mid-40s and we're still unclear. We're sort of heading in a direction, but we're not entirely clear. And it's okay, but yet there's so much pressure being placed onto children. And so, I would say that kids, do what makes you happy. And I know that's, and again, I don't want to come across as being Gary Vee, although I do love him. But it's all about happiness. At the end of the day, it boils down to what makes you happy.
I think people overcomplicate it, and maybe kids overcomplicate it in their heads about what's going on as well. I'm actually going to an event this week where representing Lifeline, because I take calls there, and there's 8,000 students coming to the convention centre in Sydney to have a talk about mental health, which is really cool. And I just don't know why they can't keep it so simple as kids. Do what makes you happy, work hard, and have fun.
Because there's pressure, because there's expectation, because parents want to vicariously live their life through their children, and you see it all the time. And these are the sad things. So it's all about ultimately do what makes you happy. And look, and I'm no expert at this. I'm not an expert parent, so I'm certainly not trying to position myself in that regard. I have my plenty of flaws as a parent, and we started off. I wanted my son to play footy, and I wanted him to play footy because I played footy, and he wanted to do scooting, scooter riding, and initially I was really against that, but then because I had all these connotations of what these scooter riders down at skate parks and vagabonds and all sorts of stuff, but it was actually very sorry, mate. I'm probably polarizing some of your audience, but that's okay. But it was
Good
actually,
example.
he just loved it. He loved it. And not only did he love it, he was actually really good at it. Now, he doesn't do it anymore because he had a couple of serious head injuries and I did have to put my foot down. But anyway, my point was that I didn't want him, I wanted him to do football. He wanted to do scootering. And eventually I got out of my own way for him and just saw how good he was, how talented he was. And mate, became this proud dad who would, he would do, go down, stairs in the botanical gardens, like, 5 meters of stairs on those rails and slide down. And, I used to think, God, these vagabonds and, get a job and whatnot. And yet here am I, eventually cheering my son on because you know why? Because he was happy. And ultimately, as a parent, that's what I want for both my kids, is for them to be happy.
In business, in life, and if you're happy about what you're doing, you want to do more of it. You want to do more of it. It's Saturday today. This is, we're not getting paid for this. So we're out there doing our craft because we love it.
But also too, because we're both entrepreneurs, then Saturday is like a Monday, to be honest. So it's just another day that ends in Y, really. So from here, I've got to take my boy to the train because he's off doing something today. But then I'll come back and I'll be in my office, and that's what I'll be doing today. And I've got a whole lot of stuff coming up, and I need to prepare. So Saturday is a Monday, is a Tuesday, is a Sunday. Oh, look, I do try to do stuff on a Sunday. It doesn't always work out, and that's an area that I can improve on. But certainly Saturday for me is still I'm still on the tools.
On the tools, always on the tools, absolutely.
Yeah, always on the tools.
It's a progressive, it's a progressive life. It makes me think about what's going on for me in life, and hopefully it's helped so many other people. Sadie's actually said she teaches the kids how to save money, and
beautiful.
The son's buying a first property at 19 and her daughter's 24, doing really awesome. Well, full-time jobs, and that's what what it's all about, is creating that life by design, right? Designing. And
here's the other thing too, is that I'm hopeful that through what I do, through my actions, through doing the things that I do, as much as the kids go, oh, Dad, whenever I say to them, because as you know, I do a lot of social media, and so I say to the kids on school holidays, you want to follow me around with a camera? Couldn't think of anything worse, Dad, whatever. But I'm hopeful that through osmosis, through seeing what I do, through seeing the hours that I put in, through seeing the things that I do, the risks that I take, all those types of things, it will rub off. And it mightn't rub off right now, and that's cool. But it will rub off.
It's cool.
At the appropriate time. Hey, for people. Clearly, I need to work on my dabbing. So anyway.
No, you don't. That's the vulnerability. That's what it's all about. That's putting yourself out there. It's another thing about for us and for so many people, is to get yourself out there and show your vulnerability and laugh at yourself, because that will help you in your emotions, I guess, Tony. And that's another topic, probably for another day. But you can highlight a few key points in that regards if you like.
Well, what I was going to say is that's all about people's fears and insecurities, right? So as you pick up the camera, do a lot of stuff. I pick up the camera, or the phone now, sorry, and do a lot of stuff. And, I've always got the camera in my face. And it's funny, like when I'm with my family, I'm walking through the shops and they're ducking for cover and, oh, Dad, and whatever. But it's because I want to do it, because I want to push out a particular message, and whether people will like it, that's entirely up to them, but I want to push out a particular message. But people have a lot of fear and insecurity around putting the camera on themselves, and that's all because they're inward looking. And what I mean by that is they're worried about how they're going to be perceived, fearful of criticism from other people, fearful of making a mistake, fearful of not dabbing properly, fear, right? Self-doubt, etc. I look stupid, my hair's out, all these types of things. When people shift the mindset from that to then outward looking, which means I've got a lot of information and value and things that I know, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't share it to the world. And if I can help one person move their life forward, I may never meet that one person. And that's not, but it's about me thinking about if I'm able to help one person move forward and know that I've helped one person, or even if I don't, but think that I've helped one person move forward, I feel amazing. Now, obviously, I'm trying to help more than one person, but my point is that when people, instead of looking inward, and that is, being fearful of all of your inward insecurities and how you look and all that sort of BS, look outward and go, we've all got some good that we need to share. Doesn't matter what it is, we're all sitting on a wealth of knowledge in something, whatever your field is. And it would be remiss of you, it would be wrong of you if you didn't get out there and share it with the world. And so when you flip that thinking around, then start to see what happens. And the other thing is that with fears is just start, right? Just start, just do one. So